let's make your foggy dog photos a little more striking with these simple enhancements.
To enhance your foggy photos, we are going to start off by going down to a brightness and contrast panel, and we're going to bump up the brightness. We want to make sure everything is glowy looking and nice and crisp and white. You can add a little bit of contrast if you need, and you'll notice how this actually darkens down, or it doesn't make some of the dog pop quite as much as we want. So we're going to use our lasso tool, and we are just going to circle part of that. We're going to come back down to our brightness and contrast panel and bump up our brightness. You can adjust the contrast as needed. And then you're going to use a soft round brush on 100% opacity. You're just going to paint that on wherever you need to. If you need to toggle that over to the black, you can use the X key to remove any of it and Command Z to undo what you just did. Now, if you're still seeing some discoloration, as is happening in my image where it's picking it up from the ground, you are just going to lasso that again, and you're going to come down to your selective color. You're going to have to go into whichever color channel it is. This is probably a neutral channel, and you're going to pull out those tones and make those whatever color you need that to be. If you have a lighter dog like I do, and you're just going to paint that wherever you need to. If it's too much or too intense, you can just lower your opacity and adjust that to make it look natural with whatever lighting you have there. Then you are going to come in and you are going to add a new layer. From here, we are going to grab our paintbrush tool, and you're going to make sure that is on white, and you're actually going to lower the opacity down. I typically do around 28% as a good starting point, but you can do whatever you want. It can be lower, it can be higher, and you can adjust from there. You're going to look for anything in the background. Specifically here, we're looking at the trees, we're looking at the fence line. We are not going to see fog up front. So you're not going to see fog in front of your dog because that is too close to the camera. It's not going to pick up that refined mist. But anything in the background, you can actually make look more foggy by just adding little bits of white to it, and you can paint that on however you need to, so you can kind of blend in some things. We don't necessarily want to get rid of everything in the background, but you can make it more foggy or less foggy depending on what you want. You can do the entire tree. You can do part of the tree. We're just enhancing this a little bit, and you want to look for things on the horizon line as well. So if you need to, you can actually blend it in a little bit more by adding another layer, and you're just going to paint on wherever that makes sense. Now, if you do need to remove it off of your dog, you're just going to go down to that bottom layer. You're going to click Select Subject, where it's going to have the marching ants around your dog. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can go in and change it, but this will allow you to come up to whatever layer you need to remove it on. So let's just say we added it on this layer and we need to remove it. We're going to go ahead and we are going to go up to Select and down to Inverse. Now we've got the entire thing selected except for the dog, and you can then paint it on or off with a layer mask. And so by adding that layer mask, it just removes anything that is the dog, is on the outline. If you need to add it back in, white adds on with your paintbrush, and black takes away on your paintbrush. So you can just add it in wherever. And then, of course, if you need to, depending on your setting, you can actually put a little bit of fog around your puppy as well. But that is not really something we're going to see much of unless your dog is far away. If your dog is very far away from your camera lens, then you can start to add that in, blend them into it. You can see how it doesn't really look natural unless it's very far away. So for the most part, whatever is in focus here is going to stay nice and crisp, and anything that is behind them is going to be more foggy. Anything in front of them is too close to the camera lens, and it will not show up on the camera in terms of mist and fog. So you have the ability to add in all of those layers and to change and enhance that. And you can see how we went from this to make it pop a little bit. And again, if anything is too much with the fog as you're turning it on and off, if it looks too intense, just go in, find the layer that you need, and then all you have to do is back off the opacity, and now it starts to blend in just a little bit more. And so the lower the opacity of your brush, the more you can do blend work on this to make it look a little more or a little less foggy. And if you don't want something to look foggy, all you have to do is lasso it, come down to your contrast panel, your brightness and contrast, and just bump right up that contrast. And then you're going to use your soft round brush on 100% opacity to paint on whatever you need, wherever you need. and merely enhance the look of your image as you're creating your fog images for your dog. Follow along for more tutorials on how to edit your dog photos and for photo shoot ideas for your puppy to make sure you're documenting everything possible with your dog their entire life. And we drop daily videos helping you with everything from your dog photos and content creation to your travel to the equipment and tools and technology that you can use in your dog enrichment and in growing your puppy parenthood with your dog. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.